best Jaws movie.
Jaws the Revenge.
Jaws the Revenge. Whatever. You said I said Godzilla Revenge. Though the Revenge Godzilla, that is actually a movie. But hello, everyone. Here we are in the spoiler room. Yes, it's Jaws July. It's our last Jaws July. So tear in the eye, and we're completionists. So tonight we are looking at Jaws the Revenge. Notice it doesn't have the 4 in it, though it is Jaws 4, but it's not called Jaws 4. It's just called Jaws the Revenge. This time it's personal, and hopefully tonight my crew doesn't hold me personal for this film. As we venture down the stairs, pull up the chair, and pop our favorite drinks to talk movie spoilers. With me tonight to talk about this interesting entry into the IP, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joe Randazzo here. Hello, Joe.
Hello, everyone. This is the worst Jaws movie and the second best Jaws movie at the same time.
I love how you put that. Yes, indeed. And my right-hand man, it's none other than Mr. Ian Simmons. How you doing, sir?
I'm great. I'm glad I was here to hear that, Joe. That was the perfect way to describe this movie. Wow.
It is. And shout out to Lamont, Horror Miser Monty G, and Scotty D. Both were hoping to be here tonight, but unfortunately, due to circumstances, they could not. And also, I want to throw a shout out quick to the diva of the spoiler room, Miss Dawn, who really likes Jaws 2 and didn't quite care for our Jaws 2 episode. So, man, apologies, Dawn. We're glad you love that movie. I know how you love your shark films. You're fantastic. And yeah, we had a fun conversation this afternoon about it. She's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But
look, I would like to apologize as well. Dawn, I am sorry you love Jaws 2 as well.
My issue with Jaws 2 is it's not good enough to be really, really good, and it's not bad enough to be really, really terrible. It's in the middle where it's just competent enough to not be hilarious, but not good enough to be great. And that ultimately, to me, is like that's the place I want to avoid.
And before we get rolling, yes, we are back on Twitch as well. I decided, while I'm game streaming other days, why not share the joys of the spoiler room with our Twitch folks? And we have someone here, Mr. Derek Carey. Dr. Danzing MD himself is with us, says Jaws 4 for life. For life. Oh, you know what? We need to get shirts like NWO, but it's got J and then it's got IV on it for Jaws 4. And then you got underneath the Revenge. Hell yeah. Sorry. Anyway, Jaws the Revenge is here. It is the 4th film in the franchise. Came out in 1987. And Joe, I love your synopsis. Please. I mean, can you give us a synopsis of Jaws the Revenge?
Jaws the Revenge is one of the greatest comedy films ever made, up there with His Girl Friday. Oh, wait, it's not supposed to be a comedy. What was the younger Brody kid's name?
Sean. Sean.
No. Yeah, Sean. I was right.
Sean.
So this is so stupid.
Do you want me to do this? Can you get through it?
So Sean is now a deputy in Amity. Is it Christmas Eve or is it somewhere around Christmas?
Yeah.
It's Christmas Eve. Yeah,
it is Christmas Eve. He sent out because of a fucking piece of driftwood when he's targeted by. He's targeted by the shark who has a telepathic connection to his mother.
It's the same one, right?
So, how? How is
the same one that got blown up in 1975?
No. It's
back and he's walking.
This is a new one. This is a new shark.
They make direct reference to the fact that it was supposed to be the one from killed his.
They say it's the same shark.
Well, no, it did kill his dad. His dad got a heart attack from a shark.
But they're saying that the one that his dad fought, and then they reference one of the other movies. So yeah, I think it's Ellen that's saying this. So she's gone around the bend 4 times in this movie, so she can't be trusted. But there is because I was like, oh, this is like the shark's nephew or grandchild, but no, there's a line in the film about it being the same shark.
That's what I said. I was like, wait a minute, how can this be the same shark?
No. Dr. Danzig says that it's the second cousin 3 times removed from the shark from Jaws 1.
Okay, that's a joke, but it's not canon. We're talking about canon.
I took her as referring to, their family being connected to hers, not the actual shark that was from the first one. Well, they ignored 3 in this one too, because here we have Michael, who is still a marine biologist, but now he's out in the Caribbean, the Bahamas.
And now he looks younger than Dennis
World. And he's younger than Dennis Quaid. Yes,
younger than Dennis Quaid. So that's weird.
So this could take place before Jaws 3, and Sean just happened to get repaired. He didn't actually fully die from the shark attack. No, I don't know. They ignored Jaws 3, Jaws 4.
That would explain the PTSD he has in Jaws 3 if he's actually been killed and somehow resurrected. Something's been killed and resurrected either way. Unless, Ian mentions it, his mother at this point, maybe she's just lost her mind. But
I think she's just lost her mind. She thinks it's the same shark, but it's not. It's a different shark.
But it's at least the same shark from Massachusetts down to the Caribbean.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Close-ups of him.
Well, yeah,
and it's the same shark. He's actively stalking the family now.
Yeah, he followed her down there because he has. They are connected in some way. She is connected to the shark.
Somehow telepathically, because he'll be attacking something and she will see it in her mind.
Yeah,
she's doing, she's dancing with Michael Caine on an island, and all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, my son is being attacked by the shark out there. It's 15 miles out. I don't know.
It's her sharky sense.
It's her sharky sense.
She's got sharky sense, I love how they wrote Brody out of here by him having a heart attack, and she somehow blames the shark inadvertent for him having the heart attack and dying. They've got the picture of him up in the office. And then when Sean goes out, he's got to go out. So this is a fishing town. And I know it's a small town, but still, it's a fishing town. And this piece of driftwood gets crammed in a buoy. The Coast Guard says they can't allow any boats in, but it's night. So who cares about no boats coming in? There shouldn't be any boats coming in. But nonetheless.
And it's Christmas Eve, so presumably there's no boats coming in tomorrow either.
Right, but this is somehow an emergency that Sean has to go out there and remove the piece of driftwood that apparently was shoved in there by the shark, because the shark knew that it would break Sean Brody out.
The shark, my theory, the shark also made the call to have Sean go out there.
Well, we know that these things can roar and moan, so why not pick up the phone?
So this whole setup for Sean getting killed by Jaws, it is implied that there's some premeditation here with the shark, because we've got elevated senses with the shark. And I know I know it's put out by a studio and 3 didn't do that well, but they could have invested in a little better prosthetic for his arm that I didn't even realize got munched. I thought he had a box on top of him because the whatever they did for the setup for his arm being bit off did not mesh with the rest of his body. So he's like laying there and he's like reaching around, and you can totally see like the box or whatever for the he's like, and you're just like, what happened? You're like, oh, it ate his arm. I didn't notice that between the montage, which they do for almost every attack You never actually see the shark. I mean, even in the first one with the broken shark, you could see someone, he gets bit, shot, gets bit. This one, they do this cut of montage of teeth and blood and bubbles and teeth and blood and bubbles. And then all of a sudden the person's in the mouth of the shark and being drugged down. And Sean getting killed. I'm like, well, that was a bit random,
It's also mean. I mean, there's something about this. You think back to 8 years earlier or whatever, or no, 12 years. I can't do math. 12 years earlier to the original Jaws, and you've got the little boy Sean like nearly getting killed by the shark, and he's in kind of all of these movies, and he keeps surviving and surviving and surviving. You just have him get taken out like that. I understand they're trying to set up this,
right away too.
Right.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, there's something about like this little boy, and his whole life he's been psychologically scarred by this. I know we're overlooking Jaws 3, but he was messed up by those experiences, as you can see, even into his adulthood. And then later on, he's still living in Amity. He doesn't have the same, his brother went off to Colorado or wherever they were going, but he's back in town trying to make a life for himself, and he gets taken out like this in this stupid revenge plot. This movie is it's stupid, but it's also kind of mean-spirited, and I really don't that's one of the reasons I don't care for it that much.
Well, the taking out Sean, you're right, it felt a bit mean-spirited, but also is one of those that, and we've gotten this in other sequels, it's what pissed me off about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Netflix movie that came out a few years ago. They take these legacy characters or whatnot, and for the only motivation that you can see is to be the shock of, we killed this main character, for that fact. There's nothing in the story or anything about this character that would lead you to believe that they would be taken out this quickly, this early, and this dirty. And, Sean especially, he's seen enough shark shit to know that what he does, he wouldn't have done. He would have found a different way to get that log dislodged, therapy or no.
Or you would have been able to be like, something about this makes me think a shark did it.
well, but it shows you how Amity handles shark attacks now, though. He gets killed, and it's like, yeah, there's a shark attack. It's
also a staple of 80s horror. Excuse me, maybe not necessarily this series, but it's a staple of 80s horror where you have the person who survives the previous movie, whether it's a Friday the 13th or a Nightmare on Elm Street, killed right at the beginning of the next one, most of the time for some reason. And I don't know if it's because maybe the actors in these cases wanted more money for the next one, and they were like, all right, just come in for 10 days, we'll kill you off and we'll move on. But, everybody who survives, Nancy survives a Nightmare on Elm Street 1. She's not in 2. She gets killed in 3. Everyone that survives in part 3 dies at the beginning of the first 4, 3 that die in the part.
But I will say, like, Elm Street, they handle it well, because Nancy's return, she comes back as an adult. I mean, she's only in like her early 20s or whatever, but she makes it all the way to the end of the third movie, and it's really kind of sad and messed up the way that Freddy takes her out by being disguised as her dad. But she's setting it up for Kirsten to kind of be the next to go into the next movie. And in the next movie, she gets maybe 20 minutes in before she's killed off, but that's to bring Alice up to the fore, because you can't really have these two, strong leads. And then Alice was in it for a couple of movies.
Yeah.
So Alice was never killed on camera. So,
that's right. Right. But I mean, that's the thing. Like Friday the 13th, I agree. Adrian King getting taken out in that kitchen was, kind of messed up. But I think Elm Street did it well.
Elm Street, I think, out of the ones that did that trend, did it well. I mean, that was one of the things that ticked me off about. I actually enjoyed Hostel 2 more than Hostel 1, but the first 10, 15 minutes of Hostel 1 really ticked me off, because the guy who made it all the way through all the crap in Hostel 1 gets taken out early in Hostel 2, and you're just like, well, why'd I watch that? Fully
I was at an early screening of Hostel 2 with Eli Roth in attendance.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards he was doing a Q&A. It was a small theater. It was a weird event. But I asked him, I'm like, because not only is the opening of Hostel 2 reminiscent of Friday the 13th Part 2, it is basically a direct ripoff, including the main character getting, horribly murdered in the kitchen. And I asked him about it. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Friday the 13th Part 2. Like, what does it have to do with my movie? I don't see any similarities. I'm like, all right, cool. Still sign my postcard afterwards. But the other thing, before I forget, that is just dirty about this whole thing, and we keep flashing back to it throughout at least this movie, and I think there was another scene in maybe Jaws 2 with young Sean, that scene at the kitchen table where they're pantomiming and everything.
Yeah.
In this film, they redo that scene, but it's with Michael and his son or daughter.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this moment doesn't even belong to them. Michael wasn't even in the kitchen when that moment happened.
Well, if we're gonna get into characters flashing back to shit they had nothing to do with,
right? But that's the gateway, because I hadn't picked up on it till watching it this time, because I've known about those weird flashbacks for decades. But I'm watching this, I'm like, that's not Michael's story. That was Sean as a little kid.
And then she had the images of Brody shooting and killing the other shark.
That's what I'm talking about. And she somehow has flashbacks to Sean being eaten when she wasn't there.
No. And that was one of my earliest memories of film criticism. I don't know if I may have mentioned this before, but watching Siskel and Ebert when this movie came out, and they're like ripping it to shreds, and that was one of the first things they brought up was like this character. And I hadn't seen the film, but they show like a little clip of it. Like, this character gets killed in the beginning, and his mother has a flashback later in the film to that moment, but she was nowhere around. I'm like, wow, that
you can make a case for her husband telling her the story of and then I made this quip and I shot him and he blew up. Like, okay, maybe, but Sean ain't fucking telling her what just happened.
No, if Brody doesn't seem like the type that would describe. So I was on the mast, and as it was going down, I said, "Smile, you son of a bitch," and I shot him, and it exploded. And that's what I did. Yeah.
I don't think he liked to talk about anything that happened.
No.
We do have Dr. Danzig says no waves left unturned in revenge, and that it's budget over story gets them every time. Absolutely. And dementia, the hidden killer in Jaws 4 are both the humans and the shark.
I mean, you can see the waves as they hit the back of the glass of the back of the pool and then turn over. Thank you, Blu-ray.
Oh my God, the pool! It was so, folks. Yes. So Sean gets eaten unceremoniously. I mean, brutally and dirty. And so after Mike shows up for the funeral, and his mom's like, they knew he was there. They're coming. We're connected. He's like, yeah, okay, Mom. Why don't you come down to the Bahamas with me for a while and, hang out with
my daughter.
Hang out with my
granddaughter. Hey, don't go near the water. It's going to kill you. Poor girl. He's getting dragged and yelled at by her mom for nothing because of grandma being a fucking psycho. But then again, it turns out she's right. The shark was stalking them.
That was the first time she was right, because they go down to the Bahamas and grandma's all, I'm connected to the sharks, and we get a whole period where we don't even know there's sharks. We get introduced to Mario Van Peebles for some reason feeling the need to do a Jamaican accent because 80s, I guess. I don't know.
Well, they were in the Bahamas. Like, everybody in the Bahamas has a Jamaican accent. That's
including Melvin Van Peebles, who shows up later on.
Melvin Van Peebles shows up, which was a nice. He was the guy on the mic, I think.
Yeah,
he was the
mic. Was he the MC with the art show or whatever?
Yeah.
And for some reason, we had a Latin American dictator in the audience, and nobody ever mentions him. He's just there, like full suit with all the medals and everything. I'm like, wait, what? Why is this guy? Why is there a dictator from a banana republic here? And why are we not talking about this?
So they're down there.
You don't talk about it.
And Michael is investigating conch shells with his buddy who wants to do more, and they're doing a study for his PhD. So technically, prequel to Jaws 3D if it wasn't for Jaws being dead. Anyway.
It wasn't for Sean being alive.
Or Sean
being even dead in this one.
Yeah. So anyway, so they're doing this, and yeah, the shark somehow makes it down and is in knows where Lorraine is. He's got his shark GPS out. Well, this is 80s, so yeah, shark GPS. He's got shark GPS internal, kind of like a homing pigeon. He homes in on her and where she's at. And yeah, so Michael discovers the shark is in their waters. And his buddy's like, we got a great white in the Bahamas. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And yeah, then there's this scene where they're presenting this art because Michael's wife is an artist, and she just happened to make an art structure that looks like a jaw. If anybody didn't catch that, it looks like a shark jaw in a way.
I kept thinking it looked like, Joe, you know what I'm talking about, the Picasso sculpture that's down at the Daily Center.
Yes.
Yeah,
it does.
And now I'm never going to be able to go by there without thinking of fucking Jaws 4. Thanks, movie.
So she's getting her art. She's getting her art dedicated in town because I guess it's a small Caribbean town. And yeah, that's where Grandma suddenly realizes the shark is nearby because she could see and feel the shark. And her daughter, who, man, 80s are so different. Because the ceremony's going on, right? It's a Caribbean town, and not everybody knows everybody, but let me set the scene. So they're dedicating the artwork. We know the shark's out there. Michael knows the shark's out there already. They're keeping an eye out for it. Blah, blah, blah. That's a whole sub story. Anyway, so Grandma and Michael's wife and Van Peebles' wife, they're all there for the dedication. There's people out in the ocean, and then there's these kids on a banana boat. Oh, call back to the first one. Anyway, so the banana boat pulls up by the beach, and Michael's daughter goes, Mom, can I go ride on the banana boat? Her daughter doesn't have a swimsuit, doesn't appear to know these people. They're just like, can I go ride on the banana boat? And she's like, sure. So she just jumps out there on the banana boat, and this boat takes off into the wild blue ocean, and they're just sitting there going, oh, where's Michael? And then Grandma goes, shark. And I thought they were going to play a Brody angle of the shark isn't out there, so it makes her go look, and then, but no, the shark comes, but his aim is off. He misses the little girl and munches the girl behind her. And everybody's like, ah! And it must be the European cut on the Amazon, because I don't remember this film being this bloody, but he munches this kid on the banana boat and blood is shooting out and everything. And then the mom believes, and Lorraine is like, see, I told you I'm mentally connected to the shark. And the rest of the audience went, okay.
And at this point, Michael already knows, because Michael and Mario Van Peebles have shot a homing tracker onto the shark that the shark can apparently remove and just put back on when it wants to be tracked and take off.
Well, that's bad camera work. No, the monitor was always on there. His little monitor for the heartbeat, which is what it was measuring, would sometimes go out, and they had to smack it like an old TV in order for it to start. So
the subplot is Michael now knows about the shark, and he hasn't said anything.
Right.
I don't know if I guess it's to not worry his own mother, but he's also putting his family in danger. But he's also now kind of telepathically connecting to the shark, at least having nightmares.
Yeah. He's having psychic nightmares about the shark. Yeah.
And it was at this point that I was like, I joked with you guys about it. I just wanted this shark at one point in the middle of the night to knock on the window, just to be like Robert De Niro and meet the parents, like, I'm watching you.
be like Candy Graham. Have Jaws come out of the water, knock on the door, go, Candy Graham.
If you're gonna go goofy at this fucking point,
which it is, it's totally goofy, making this psychic connection with the Brody family and this shark, who may or may not be the original shark resurrected or something.
or
don't know that.
descendant of some kind.
And then we enter Hoagie, not the sandwich, but the
right.
pilot, Michael Caine, who's macking on Ellen Brody, Lorraine. I keep calling her Lorraine because it's played by Lorraine Gary. He's macking on Ellen Brody. Michael suddenly's like, "What's he doing around my mom?" What the fuck did you? She's like, it's like
She's
whatever.
50 years old.
Yeah.
She can make her own decisions, believe it or not.
But he's all like Hoagie, and every time they ask what Hoagie does, he playfully goes, "Oh, I take out the laundry." Implying like this is like some black market airplane runner.
He's a drug runner.
He's a scoundrel. Yeah, a dirty, rotten one, even. But no, I understand Michael being protective of his mom, especially if she appears to be going a little bit nuts, but also because the guy's shady. He turns out to be a good dude, but there's nothing in here that suggests stand-up character. My biggest problem is that, and I honestly, and I was not kidding, guys, we were kind of messaging back and forth last night. I was scrolling X almost the entire time I was watching this movie because nothing happens in this film. It is Jaws meets On Golden Pond. It's just two senior citizens getting to know each other, and then all of a sudden a shark shows up. But although I did after the attack on the little girl at the beach, Ellen Brody turns into the Terminator. She's got the dark glasses. All of a sudden, you see her stop and move very robotically, and she's stalking down the beach, and you can almost hear dun 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 dun.
Yeah, she steals Michael's boat.
Yeah,
and takes Michael's boat out. She's just like, "Fuck this," and she gets on the boat and she takes the boat. And Michael's like, "Where's mom?" And then his wife's all freaking out, like, "You knew there was a shark out there?" And he's like, "It's the Caribbean. There's a lot of sharks out here. What the hell?" But, not this.
You knew there was a shark specifically coming after our family?
Right? So yeah.
You can almost expect Tom Matthews to come up to the sheriff's office and say, "Jaws is alive. He's even more powerful now than he ever was before." Gets locked up. And
there's even a scene where he passes Mario Van Peebles underwater, and they're like, why didn't he come after you?
The shark? Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't he come after you? You were right there. You could have been lunch meat. He's like, "No, man, I'm after you, Brody. I'm after you and your family."
Yeah, but then that's inconsistent because later on, Jaws takes a bite out of Jake, played by Mario.
But I think he's intending again to get Michael, or he just
he just bites him because he's at the front of the boat, and Michael's got the little electronic electrocutor device that Jake needs to shove the electrocutor device into the shark's mouth for him to get shocked, and so the shark comes up at the same time and takes him. But that's okay. Don't worry about Jake. We'll just hang that out there for now.
He also tries to eat hoagie.
Well, it's a good sandwich, but no, I think the Jake situation, maybe he had borrowed, because he was scrambling to follow Michael out to the boat, during the emergency. Maybe he grabbed one of Michael's shirts, and that's what he was wearing during the whole battle,
Because
or it just could be these guys are trying to kill me, so I'm now gonna have to defend myself. I was just gonna come after you and your family, but now they're targets too. We're trying to make sense of this movie.
I thought we agreed. We're not gonna bring logic into a Jaws 4 discussion.
Well, and then how did this shark know about the granddaughter and go after her? Because he must have read Ellen's mind and went, "Oh, there's a granddaughter, and I know exactly where she is in this group of people, and I'm just going to attack that." And shit, I grabbed the wrong girl. Damn it!
He didn't seem to mind. He's
like, nah, she's stuck in my teeth. Well, I got her anyway. I might as well eat this one.
I gotta eat her now. She's literally stuck in my teeth. I'm gonna have to chew through this. What else are you gonna do? I thought for a second you were gonna say because the shark read the script.
And they're like, it's impossible because there isn't one.
We've got the blonde in front observing too, and she said, "Revenge best served wet." Which Dr. Dancing said, I think that's the tagline. That should have been, instead of "This time it's personal." It was Jaws 4 was directed by Picasso, right? Bananarama boat. And Jaws is a stalker. Totally was creeping in the window. He'd come.
I would have loved that. I just wanted this movie to go full fucking crazy at this point.
Okay, I've gotta ask, because did they just use the same Jaws puppet for all 4 films? Because this Jaws has the same problem as the other Jaws that we had seen, except in the first one, which is his tail barely moves. The only time we ever see his tail move for when he swims is the one silhouette shot when we get Michael, who at one point he's chased by the shark. Bruce, we'll call him Bruce, just because we'll call him Bruce. He's chased by Bruce in the water because he's sitting in the water in the cheapest made submersible device known to man that was literally must have been made out of balsa wood. Anyway, so he's traveling there looking for his conch shells. His buddy Jake's like, hey man, when are we going to go look for the shark, man? And he literally sounds like that. I'm just saying, why? But anyway, so then all of a sudden he's like, oh crap, it's here, because he had to hit the monitor for the heart, and Jaws comes, and it's this mad chase where Michael suddenly becomes the Flash and can swim faster than Earth's mightiest feeding machine in the ocean, which it was made for. And he gets into this wreck, and we do this whole reenactment of the shark chasing flounder in Little Mermaid. Sorry, it's true, but the shark only moved his tail in the silhouette. Everything after that, like when he's moving through the boat, like he somehow got in there, he's just moving his body. They're literally moving this shark animatronic like on a cart. There's no movement to it except for the jaws. The jaws are the only thing that moves on this entire thing.
Well, the movie's not called Jaws and Tails, Mark. It's called Jaws.
Very true.
It's like like the light in the beginning of Naked Gun, the police squad. It's clearly not a cop car. It's just a light.
It is like the light in the piece. But yeah, it's one of those things where you've got this shark, and this film really feels like they're just throwing ideas, like they're in a pitch meeting and they took the pitch script and made that the movie. You know, I mean, because these random ideas come out. The shark looks awful, especially when you get into the high def. This shark looks the worst, and they got like scars on him and that, like to try to make him like scary or whatever. But I'm like,
because he's the original shark who's been through this several times before.
No, he's not the original shark. I refuse to acknowledge that he is the original shark.
Well, he either is, or Ellen Brody is crazy. Which either one could be right in this.
See, and I get the Ellen Brody crazy angle more because of what had happened, you know, just the odd coincidence. I get it. But at the same time, if this is ignoring Jaws 3, the first 2 attacks were very close to each other, and then they hadn't had one in a long time. And yet she still thinks this shark family is, you know, in telepathic mind meld with her for whatever reason, you know. And I just love how she explains this to Hoagie, and Hoagie's like, oh yeah, that checks. And I'm like, wait, what? She just told you that she's telepathically attached to the shark, and the shark has a vendetta out. See, this should have been called Jaws Vendetta, but
yes,
you know. And he's like, well, okay, whatever, I just want to kiss you. And just like,
I think that's more what it is. I think Hoagie's just the kind of guy that's going to go with any crazy story as long as he thinks he's going to get laid. I think that's who he is.
In his mind, he's counting the quarters for the vibrating bed already. That's what his brain is.
So yeah, so
she could have told him I'm the fucking Queen of England. He'd be like, oh, that checks out.
So
when we hit the sheets.
Yeah, so they try to build up drama between Michael and his wife for him not telling her about the shark. They try to build some drama between him and Jake, which for most of the film, you're wondering, why are these guys even working together? Because they're just constantly bitching at one another. And I'm not like friend bitching. I mean, like, you're like, wow, these are like annoying coworker bitching at each.
Well, it's a Jaws movie, so they got to have good carp, bad carp.
Oh God.
Sorry, I apologize.
Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so back
trying to get to the level of Jaws 4, guys.
It
Literally nowhere near that.
When the shark shows up, it's always as if they forgot the shark. They had to include the shark in the movie. Like literally, it is so random. It is like, it's like, okay, and they tried to do the little heartbeat angle thing, but that they weren't consistent with. And the shark really isn't that scary. He literally has two movements: straight through the water, no tail movement, or lift up in the air and go gong gong gong. Like that's it. That's all he does in this film. So he's not even doesn't even have really a personality like the other sharks we've had. At least, even as janky as they might have looked, the other sharks had a little bit behavior and personality to him. This one doesn't at all, and it's supposed to be the most smart, telepathically connected shark. It doesn't work. And then
Go ahead.
And then during this final act where Ellen's going out with the boat to go after the shark, to get the shark away from the island for whatever reason, no one's quite sure what her logic is on this. The shark shows up, he gets into shallow water and rears his head enough to howl like a He-Man monster. And I am not exaggerating. They use the fucking He-Man monster sound effect at one point as he comes out of the water after her, while Hoagie and Michael and his buddy Jake are on a plane trying to find his mom. The shark came out of the water, and let me tell you, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm misremembering. And then the shark, as it's coming towards the boat, gets out of the water, goes, oh, and I'm like, nope, I didn't misremember.
It roars later.
And it roars again later when they're chasing him. And he rears his head out of the water for no particular reason to roar again once Michael and Jake are on the boat with his mom.
There is something I'm unclear on. What was she going to do? Because it doesn't seem like she had much of a plan.
She didn't have a plan outside to get on the boat, and I didn't know what she was going to do either.
I think Michael kind of yelled something like that at her, after that was all over. Like, "What are you doing out here? What was your plan?" And the movie never bothers to answer that.
Maybe, but they never made that clear either.
But that doesn't protect, Michael or the rest of the family.
But I mean, I guess if you think this is some demon shark with telekinetic powers that's specifically coming after your family, maybe you're thinking, hey, look, I'll give myself to you. Just leave my child. You already took one of my children. Leave my other child and my grandchild alone. I don't know.
I think that's what they were trying to imply, but I'm like sitting there going, okay, so after he takes her out, he's going to go back for Michael. He's like, yeah, there's one family member left, I
mean, if she was that desperate to get even, should have just never left Hoagie's side. But I mean, my whole point, like the movement that you were describing earlier, Mark, about how unnatural it is. You guys picked up on the weird POV shots from the beginning, stalking shot of Jaws going to the pier. It's under the water like we've seen in the other films, but then it comes up and it's really high over the water, almost like he's like floating over it. Then he dives down. Like, when did Jaws become a dolphin? He's got these like soaring diving moves throughout the entire picture.
That's what got me about the POV shots. At every point, Jaws manages to come out of the water, so if you're thinking of it from third person, the shark's coming out of the water so his eyes can see clearly at his target, which means that he's out of the water enough for the people who are looking at him to see him, and not just the fin, but like the whole, and like, holy shit, there's a shark, I better get out of the way. But they don't. And then the shark goes back under the water. It's like, oh, see, this is where I am. And like, we know where you are. You're fucking Jaws.
There was a shot in Jaws 3D where it was one of the bits where Jaws was under the water, but then the people got away. But the camera, which was up to this point, the POV of the shark, like swoops up out of the water and away. And I'm like, so is he flying now? What's going on here? It was completely sloppy.
I think the one of the because the edits, like I said, we never see the actual attack. They try to go for this frenetic edit. Hey, that rhymes. Frenetic edit of where they show teeth and bubbles and a glimpse of the victim, and then the teeth again and gnashing, and then we cut to a wide shot where the body's half in the mouth. The problem with that was with the worst part of the editing was with, and I'm not a professional, not like some folks out there, so I apologize. But there's the kill on the banana boat with the girl. There's literally blood before he ever gets close and takes a bite. They cut to the shot of him trying to take his initial bite, but there's already blood there. But then there's no blood in the water, and then there's blood again.
Mark, just be careful. There's some things I might have to explain to you that you should have learned growing up. Maybe we can take this offline.
That's just wrong. That's just wrong. But
just a thought.
And yeah, the whole telepathy thing, it's like, why? Who thought this was a good idea? I mean, we've already talked about how in 2 and 3, Jaws seemed to have taken on more of the killer, the serial killer type of persona. In 2, he's hunting people, not just the Brodies, but he's hunting people more like a killer, like a stalker. A slasher, yeah. And in 3, that Jaws is hunting people more like a slasher. And in this one, I'm like, we had to go to telepathy. You could have just go.
Do you want my theory on this? Considering what was this, 88?
87. So
87? Either way, who's the biggest slasher in the world right now? In 1987. One who also can get into your dreams, like this shark does with Michael.
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact. Oh, there is somebody I could probably ask. And you know what? I'll shoot him a message after this.
But it's
possible that they were like, you know what's big right now? Freddy. What if we turn this shark into Freddy?
Well, yeah.
What was the name of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2?
Freddy's Revenge. Yeah.
Freddy's Revenge. Well, I just love the tagline of this one as well, though. This time it's personal. And I'm just, when I first even saw that tagline, I was like,
how?
Wait, what? Because you just see the trailer, you're not quite sure. And then you see the movie, you're like, oh, wait, what? It's like, I mean, the other ones that we've watched here, the other 2, Jaws 2 and 3, at least were a little bit more plausible. I mean, the 2, another shark is in the area and it was killing people. Okay, that you can buy into. Literally, the other one takes place on the ocean in SeaWorld. A shark sneaks into the pen and attacks people. Okay, you can buy that. No, we got to take it to the next level and make shark telekinesis, telepathy going on, which
follow the family.
And follow the family. Forget all the other food that he passed on the eastern seaboard as he's driving. This is personal. This shark has it out for Ellen Brody and her family. Why? And this is why I think this is a member of the same shark of Bruce's family from the first one, but not the exact shark, because he's angry at the Brody family for killing 2 of his family members. So,
Well, I mean, if we don't ignore Jaws 3, Michael killed a baby shark, or Michael had something to do with the death of a baby shark. He didn't kill him himself. So maybe it's like, hey, you killed my nephew.
That could be.
My sister's been inconsolable since.
My name is Great White Shark number 4. You killed my father, my mother, and my cousin. Prepare to die. Blonde in Front states this is Lorraine Gray's final performance to date. Unfortunately, I mean, she does her all. I don't fault the actors per se, because it stems from the script, huh?
Yeah,
they're doing a job. They're doing the script, right? I mean,
nobody went into Jaws 4 thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win an Oscar. You went to Jaws 4 because they drove a dump truck full of money to your house and you're only human. I'm Michael Caine. It, like, literally has said, I've never seen the movie. I've heard it's terrible, but I've seen the house it's bought my mother.
Right. Yeah.
That's
exactly.
why you do these movies.
And Michael Caine, that's why he's in here. And he actually, what you were saying, he was shooting this film while the Oscars were going on, so he missed picking up his Oscar.
He missed getting his Oscar because he was filming this movie. So...
And I think they probably would have taken it away from him if he'd shown up and said, sorry, I was shooting Joe's full. No, it's weird. Michael Caine has a strange name where if you pronounce the name the way he would say it,
yes.
It sounds like you're saying my cocaine, which might actually explain why he did this movie.
It could be a lot of explanation.
I don't think so.
Well, that's the 80s, though. Come on. Yeah,
I mean, it really is like, if you think about it, the movies that these actors want to make, like even Chris Evans, when he left the Avengers, he's like, I just don't want to make these kinds of movies anymore, but I've made enough money that I can now be like, you know what, I could pursue the things I want to pursue. Yeah. And I think that's what we get with these movies. You're not getting anybody in these movies. It's like, I really want to do Jaws 4, damn it. I think it's just, look, if I do Jaws 4, I can do whatever, whatever movie satisfies my artistic sensibilities next and not have to worry about money while I'm doing it. And if the project I want to make loses money, so be it. I got my massive Jaws check. And I think at this point, that's what it is.
Yeah, I that's what it is. And it's, you got Van Peebles in here, Mario, who, I think this is one of his earlier films, wasn't it? Or was he wasn't around?
I think he was around. I don't think he was like a star yet. But then again, I would have been 7 when this movie came out. So
when this came out, I mean, he was doing a lot of the most I remember seeing him in before this one was Heartbreak Ridge. That's where I remember first seeing him.
That was like 85?
And that was 86. So that was a year before this one. Michael. Lance Guest had done Last Starfighter 3 years prior, and he was trying to come up and starting to get some buzz in that until he made this film.
He was also Jamie Lee Curtis's love interest in Halloween 2.
He was. So and you got Lorraine Gray, who they're still she gets a part because we know about ageism in Hollywood. So, I mean, she's in, you want to come back for the Brody? Sure. Okay. You're going to have a mental connection to the shark. Okay.
Oh, I got to pay rent.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ian.
No, I don't know. It's a strange place to be these 80s with these weird sequels and everything. Lorraine Gary, blonde in front, Katie, sorry, was saying that this is her last performance today. Is she still alive? Is that do I understand that correctly?
I guess so. She says it's to date.
I think so.
That's weird to think, because I mean, that's the thing. I really liked her in the original Jaws. Like everything about the original Jaws is great, and then everything about the Jaws movies that came after, it just lessens. It doesn't lessen the power of the movie, but it lessens the power and the aspects of that movie that would come later.
Well, it's like you said, you're doing the characters dirty. You set up these cool characters in the first one, and now in the fourth one, you have one that's gone crazy thinking the sharks are mentally connected to her. You have her son who survived 2 attacks when he was a kid, dying in the first 10 minutes of this film. Because for the shock value. I mean, these characters, you wrote Brody out. Her husband, he can't even be like off screen on vacation or somewhere. No, he's dead. He died of a heart attack.
Dead to us because he won't come back.
Yeah. The other shark came back, but no.
Well, the other quick point, we were talking about the careers and stuff. It was 3 years after this that New Jack City came out, starring and directed by Mario Van Peebles. So this didn't hurt him too much.
No.
Yeah.
But
although maybe it is another sign of the shark's strong psychic ability to know to not kill anybody but the Brody family, because Jake survives this shark attack. Like, he gets munched pretty thoroughly a couple of times in the stomach, and I don't know how he's like verbal at the end of this.
There's there's another ending on the Blu-ray where he doesn't come back, and it's assumed he's dead. And from what I understand, during the test screenings, people didn't much like Ken Foree in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. They didn't like that that Mario Van Peebles dies, so they were like, "Hey, let's do a reshoot and bring him back." And they didn't change anything else; they just left it alone. And much like Ken Foree in Texas Chainsaw 3, he's just like, "Hey, man, I'm fine. How are you?"
Did they turn the sound off for that test screening? Because how could you want that character back with that voice? I mean, it reminded me of years later in Living Color. They did this parody of a Jamaican family sitcom, and it was called Hey Mon, and I couldn't help think that was like that was probably where the inspiration for that sitcom came from, because it's awful.
And the thing is, there really wasn't a reason for that, so it was an interesting choice. Blonde and Friend said, you guys, she retired from acting, and they gave her a truckload of cash and second billing behind Michael Caine to do this movie, and she's still alive. Yes, we realize she's still alive. We realize that.
Yeah, like we said, judging by how it was phrased, we figured, oh, yeah, she must be still alive.
We apologize if we implied that we thought she was dead.
But as Joe said, she's dead to me, because Jaws 4. Come on.
No. Well, but she got as Blonde said, she got a truckload of money. You're right behind Michael. You're starring in a movie with Michael Caine, even if it's a bad movie. So, she probably could take that money and retire. And I don't fault her for that. It's just the writing, though. But.
I do. I have this conversation all the time with my family when we're watching, specifically like people who go on game shows and they're like cheering and clapping and dancing and making complete idiots out of themselves. They're like, but they're on television. They're going to win all this money. I'm like, yeah, but $100,000, for pyramid or password is not worth the lifetime of indignity I'm going to have to face when I go back to like my friend's family and work on Monday. No,
not indignity. It's not. You're earning money there. You just don't tell them
you're
if you
earning money at the expense of like people thinking you're forever like the laughing clown for like the flaws and everything.
I mean, it goes along with we've had that discussion before, like Samuel Jackson, that they say work is work. You're going to get a money and paycheck. Eric Roberts takes all kinds of work so he can travel for free with his family. I mean, this one, they're shooting down in the Bahamas. So, I mean, Lorraine,
here's how you settle that. Take like 19 direct-to-video jobs that will pay the cost of that one Universal, because at least no one will see them. You can work, you can make your money, and still have your dignity intact.
The Nicolas Cage angle.
The Nicolas Cage angle. He had his taxes to pay. But we got some comments here to pay. We're gonna pull up here. Dr. Danzig, Cousins, Jaws, and Michael Myers are pals and exchange notes. I'd pay money for that movie. Sad that this Jaws didn't dance to ragtime gal like Alien and Spaceballs. He could have at one point when he shoots out of the shallows there, when you have Jake and the whole crew on the boat getting ready to stab the boat. Stab the shark. You could have totally had him just out there dancing with a top hat. I would have loved that.
An instant 11 out of 10 for this movie. Yeah.
And actually,
about this movie, I'm like, like I said at the beginning, it's at the same time the worst Jaws movie and the second best Jaws movie.
Oh, I found a lot of humor and entertainment in this film for how it is. Actual National Geographic shark roar footage, he believes. That's what they used in this movie, is actual shark. Katie makes a fair point. Only 3 people die in this movie in the original version because Jake dies. But if you don't count Jake dying in the theatrical cut, you've got 2.
Only Sean and the girl
Sean and the girl on the banana boat are the only 2 people that die in Jaws the Revenge.
3 if you count Time, because a lot of time gets murdered in this movie. A lot.
Blonde Frontal says 87 had Friday the 13th and telekinesis. Yep, that went
88,
into
88.
that went to 88.
Oh, is that 88?
But still, but no, she's right though in that, and that's what I was looking up. Telekinesis, I remember, was kind of becoming the thing, which is probably why they were trying to do the connection with Ellen and the shark here, because telekinesis was kind of the thing for a little bit in horror. They were trying to make it a thing because they were like, well, we've done everything else. What more can we do? Oh, I know. Though I personally like New Blood. That's one of my favorite Friday the 13th. So
that one's grown on me. It used to be one of my least favorites.
Really?
And it's grown on me over the years. I've gotten to the point where every one of the original Paramount series I actually like now. Even Jason Takes Manhattan. I'm like, and it's the thing where it's like, it's through nothing the movie does itself. It's just so much shit came after it that it moves up by doing nothing.
Do nothing but just having worse movies below.
Yeah.
But look, if you take the quality of the story and the acting out of it, I mean, the aesthetics and like John Carl Buechler's direction and also Kane Hodder's like debut as Jason, I mean, there's so much to love about that movie.
And if we were to get good quality footage of those kills that were cut by the MPAA and actually get them edited back into that movie would be a lot more fun. I've seen them on the Shout Factory Blu-rays, and I'm like, oh my god, these kills would have been great, but it's a movie that got fucked over by the censors. So
yeah,
and that's the thing.
You could watch our full episode on that movie.
Jaws 4. There's potential here. I mean, like I said, it gets bloody. We only get the 2 kills, but those 2 kills are pretty gnarly when they're shown. Them sticking in the mouth, and like the one where he drags the girl down under the water and she's still like moving in his mouth, and I'm like, that's pretty brutal. But those are the only 2 real kills you get, and this makes you wonder why. What made them decide to make this one? Because this is like 4 years after Jaws 3D, and Jaws 3D didn't do that great in the theater. So it was like, wait, we could come out with another one. But it's like, why? But why? I mean, this isn't even an anniversary release, because this is like 84. I could see if it was released in 85 being like, 10 years after the first one, it's back, dun, dun, dun. You could have played it that right, but they didn't even do that angle with it,
yeah.
But, we got a few other comments here. Like I said, Katie did let us know that she had retired. Dr. Danzig said, I'd rather be filming this than get an Oscar. So you made the right choice. Hey, if you can be filming rather than being on stage, sure. You know what? I'm sure many of those actors are like, I got a 6 o'clock call time and I'm sitting here. Yeah. And he is right. These are movies, not important at the end of the day, but they are fun to discuss. And he says, I want to read the books that nerd in Friday 7 was writing. Can we petition that?
Okay. He's not a nerd. His name was Eddie, and the book was Star Mummy. And yes, I will sign that petition, sir.
He's a nerd, but he was cool.
I'm just saying, you don't have to call him that nerd. He was Eddie, and he was done dirty.
He was, and then he says he'll ask ChatGPT to write them for him. There you go. Just go to ChatGPT.
The other thing is the ugly girl in Friday the 13th Part 7. I'm like, she's not ugly at all. Like, what are you talking about?
That was the thing back in the 80s and 90s. Like, the ugly chick on 90210 was Gabrielle Carteris, and she was like, "Oh, she's so unattractive. She's such a nerd." I'm like, she's like the cutest one out of that entire bunch.
It's funny. We're talking about Stav and nerds and side characters, and that the side characters in Jaws 4 are also a bit confusing. The crew of the boat where Jake and Michael work, because the scene where I talked before, where Michael is in the cheapest submersible known to man, because the shark comes and attacks him, and you can literally see the balsa wood You can literally see the balsa wood where he breaks it. I'm like, was that supposed to be metal? Because that sure ain't metal. That's wood. But he says he's getting attacked by a shark. He says it over the speaker. And Jake's busy on the radio. And the other two guys that are in the boat are just like, huh? And it takes them like a full 5 minutes before they decide maybe we should go down there and rescue. or
decisions. What are they going to do? Rush down there?
I thought they just took a little extra inordinate amount of time. And unfortunately, HD does not do this film justice, because later on when the boat gets destroyed in the big climax of this film, they're floating around on wreckage, and you can literally tell they are in a water tank, because you can see the poorly matted painted clouds on the background of the tank. You can literally see the seams in that. And you can see, like Joe hinted at, you can see the waves hitting the back of the tank. I mean, they didn't even angle the camera down or something, or do a different shot, or like mat it out. No, you can just see it splashing. And almost every scene where we have actual stars in the boat, not stunt folks doing stuff, they're in like 4 feet of water. I mean, you could tell with they're supposed to be in the deeper part, and they're not. And you know what? I would love to see that. Derek. Same universe as the Truman Show. Pure.
I mean, how dare they not realize that 40 years later we were going to have all this high definition technology and be able to tell? Right. Like, what's the worst that could happen? They, 360p VHS tape.
Yeah. Actually, with the Truman Show, I would love that. I would love the fact that would have been awesome if they were in the shark tank. The shark finally, the stab didn't kill it. It comes back and it goes one more time after Michael. And just as it gets to Michael, a spotlight falls from the ceiling down and smashes into the shark and kills it finally. And then you got the Truman Show, Jaws, the Jaws show. And you follow the shark around, and the shark doesn't know that he's actually part of a scripted show. And there you go. And then he gets angry and starts eating the cast. I'm for this at this point.
Well, I think Derek mentioned Chat GPT earlier.
Yeah,
we'll be able to make this movie in a couple of years, like the fully realized version.
We'll be able to make Star Mummy.
Look. At
the end of the double feature.
At the end of the day, Jaws 4 is definitely, as you said, Joe, probably the worst of the 4. But it is one of those so bad it's entertaining.
I was laughing so hard at this movie. It is so absurd. And you know what? Just to put it into context, last night, just because I had, I had to go to bed early for another job today, and I'm just sitting at home fucking around, and I decided to throw on a movie called Curse to the Bite, which is about a guy who's bitten on the hand by a radioactive snake, so his arm becomes a snake that starts killing people, and he can't control it. This movie is more ridiculous than that.
Yes, Dr. Danzig. I'm saying that telekinetic sharks aren't real, but maybe that's why I failed out of my fish course in college, because I didn't believe in telekinesis for sharks.
Here's the thing. You can't prove they're not real.
That's true. Even though you say I don't believe in it, doesn't mean it's not true. The sharks could be telekinetic, and they're just like, I don't want to bother with humans. None of you, ever since the Brody family, that was it. They were the only ones worth chasing. No other humans are worth chasing. That, or they're telekinetic, and they watched Jaws through telekinesis, and they're like, holy crap, that one got blown up. That one got electrocuted. They blew up that one too, and holy crap, this one they stabbed with their boat. These people are nuts. I'm not going anywhere near them. I'm going to go back.
Scariest documentary series I've ever seen.
So the telekinesis sharks are like, we're staying away from the humans. We're just going to go eat the tuna. So I mean,
they saw Jaws 4. They're like, the jig is up. They know.
They know. They're like, oh crap, we better stay in the deep end.
I do want to point out, I watched the alternate ending, and Mario Van Peebles does not show up again. But also the boat stabbing the shark doesn't explode it in that version either. So I'm wondering if that was a no. Like, this movie needs more explosions.
Yeah, I don't understand the
It stabs
explosion.
the shark and then it sinks, and that's it.
The boat wasn't going that fast to where we needed to have it explode. It's not like it had an air tank inside him or anything. They literally are driving the boat to him as he makes like a dolphin out of the water enough so you could stab him. But they do that explosion thing.
The battery thing that was inside him, the track or whatever, had a lithium battery, so it just blew up. Yeah,
punctured the lithium battery. Yeah, I don't know why they made him blow up. What's worse is
because they saw Stone Cold. Everything blows up in that movie, so why not?
There you go. What's worse is at first, and I almost swear they did, the shot underwater of the shark sinking looked almost exactly like the shot of the shark after it got its head blown off in the first one. And I'm like, did they just reuse that shot? But no, then you can kind of see a little piece sticking out of him at the end, but it looked damn the same. I'm like, did they?
I mean, this movie intentionally kept doing all these callbacks to the original movie where it's like, bro, all you're doing is reminding me that I could be watching the original Jaws right now, which is infinitely better than this.
Telekinesis shark versus poop cruise. No, I like this one. Brian Bosworth versus telekinesis shark. Why didn't we have that?
Brian Jawsworth. There you go.
Brian Jawsworth. Oh man, now you're talking.
Stone Cold hasn't come out yet, or was that might have been a couple years away still?
That was 1990, I think.
Yeah, Stone Cold was Stone Cold was 1991. What about though because that came up. Well, no, because that was the trend of when we had those films of stars deciding they were going to be movie stars, because that same year we had, I think, Stone Cold, we had Cool as Ice. And there's a double feature for you right there. Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth and Cool as Ice with Vanilla Ice.
I'm going to pull over there right now, Coach East. Cool as Ice stands alone. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We need like a shark versus the Nazi bikers from Stone Cold. That'd be like...
Oh, that'd be cool. So we're writing so many new Jaws movies tonight. That's what we seem to do here in the spoiler room after a while. We just start writing new movies.
We did it last week with Katie and the Hatfields versus McCoy's Jaws sequel. Why not?
Why not? Oh my God. Yes. Vanilla Ice rides a telekinesis shark versus Brian Bosworth. Oh yes.
This is what happens when the movie's terrible. You just start coming up with because if you're really going stupid, you might as well just go full-fledged stupid.
Well, and that's what at least did here with Jaws 4. I mean, they commit to this gimmick and it stays through without, regardless of how poorly it's conceived or executed. This whole gimmick idea of the telepathic shark with the Brody family, they stay with it, and I give them props for committing to it throughout. It's not like a toss-off idea, and then at the end, the shark's just terrorizing the Caribbean. Nay, they continue with it, with the sharky sense and all of that, and I give them props for that. And Lance Guest and the whole crew do their best with their characters. I mean, when he's waking up from them nightmares and that, you're kind of believing in it and all that, but at the end of the day, you see where this series started and where it ended. And then we wouldn't really see a resurgence of shark films till Sharknado. And now we have an insane amount of shark films, and to various degrees of entertainment, many of them on the level of Jaws: The Revenge.
I don't know, man. Next to a lot of those movies, Jaws: The Revenge looks like Jaws. Have you seen some of these?
I have, and our good friend Dawn loves her shark films, and there are quite a plethora variety of them.
I just saw the other week there's an avalanche shark coming soon. Apparently, we've had Santa Jaws, we've had Amityville Shark,
Shark Exorcist, Ghost Shark,
Raiders of the Lost Shark.
I got that movie.
All these terrible puns with shark have all exist now. I don't think what was there's Sharks of the Corn.
Yeah, there's Sharks of the Corn. Don't forget Sand Sharks. No, Avalanche Sharks was 2014. That's what I thought. I've seen that already. That was Sharks in the Sand in Avalanche Snow. That was Sharks in the Snow and Avalanche Sharks. In Sand Sharks, it was Sharks in the Beach, and that starred Hulk Hogan's daughter as a scientist.
Oh, there was a Dick Shark too.
There was that was.
What's his name?
Let us not invoke the films of Dick Shark and
what's his name? Fuck, I can't remember his name.
We will not. Don't. Derek will have flashbacks. Beelzebub, yes.
Beelzebub, that's what it is.
We will not invoke the name of Beelzebub. Yeah. There you go, Ian. See, Shark Exorcist is real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek
it's
says
terrible.
it right there.
It's
Bill
terrible.
Devitt. And I think they made a Shark Exorcist 2.
There is Beelzebub, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a Shark Exorcist 2 coming. Donald Farmer confirmed it. That he's
he's making a shark. So, shark films have their niche, and you're right. Compared to the previous Jaws films, Jaws 4 is rather weak. But if you compare it to the shark films after it, you know what? I would still watch Jaws: The Revenge over Meg. I would watch Jaws: The Revenge over Meg. Meg 2, maybe. Actually, Jaws: The Revenge and Meg 2 make a good pairing.
I haven't seen Meg 2 yet. I've seen the first one.
When they lean into the prehistoric era and they start bringing dinosaurs. And so you have Jason Statham versus not only a big-ass shark, but also prehistoric animals, which also come up from the ocean.
And let's also give a shout-out to the unofficial Jaws 5, Cruel Jaws, which came out 8 years after this.
There is Cruel Jaws, yes.
Cruel Jaws. There's a whole plethora of Italian shark movies from the 80s and 90s. You had Great White, a.k.a. The Last Shark. Lamberto Bava's Monster Shark. Joe D'Amato's Bruno Mattei's Cruel Jaws. So there were a few.
I mean, we even a series brewing here, the Giallo of the Shallows. What do you think?
Do that. Yes, do it. Why not?
and then there was recently, a few years ago, a movie where a shark terrorized Venice, I think, by taking out the buildings. I forgot what that one was.
I don't.
You know which one I'm talking about? It was terrorizing the canals of Venice. So.
It might have just been called like Shark Attack in Venice.
It might have been, yeah. Jaws 4, the last great shark movie, Derek says. And then he goes, no, stand corrected. Cruel Jaws stands supreme. And we're going to end on that. Thank you, Dr. Dancing. Cruel Jaws. If you want to still continue the Jaws films, there is Cruel Jaws. If it's a cruel viewing or not, well, that will leave up to you. I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. The Blonde in Front, thank you, Katie. Please check out her stuff at theblondeinfront.com. Dr. Danzing MD has a wonderful Twitch channel. He is a fantastic streamer. Check his Twitch channel out, Dr. Danzing MD. He is very entertaining, always fun, plays some interesting games for sure. And this is where I'm going to give my crew here their license to shill as well. So give your final thought with Jaws: The Revenge. After we've seen all four now, would you still say people should see it? And then you can shill with whatever you'd like. So Joe, you could go first, sir.
I mean, this is one of those movies. Get a buddy, get a pizza, get some beers, get whatever you like, and watch this movie and laugh your ass off, because it's going to be boring if you try to do it on your own. I'm just warning you. Yeah. This is a movie best watched with friends who are just not going to take it seriously and just savage it. So yeah, I think it's worth checking out because the worst thing you could be is boring. And this movie's boring if you try to watch it on your own, but if you watch it with some friends who are just ripping on it with you, then you're great. So last week I said that the first Friday in August, which I think is a week from, I think
Today.
it's this coming Friday.
It's this week. Yeah, that's this
Yeah.
week.
So I hinted last week that on the last drive-in we're doing Horrors from the Deep. It's going to be a double feature. Joe Bob tweeted the 25th was what, yesterday? Friday. In response to Shark Week, the last drive-in next Friday is Things in the Water That Can Eat You Anyway night. So if you want to continue with this theme, there's going to be 2 wet flesh features as that also sounds like porn. There's going to be 2 wet flesh features on the last drive-in this Friday night on Shudder. One of them is probably my personal favorite Jaws ripoff of all time, and actually the other film they didn't assign me, and I've never seen it, so it's going to be a first time watch for me. Unfortunately, I can't say what they are, but tune in Friday night for it.
Cool. Well, there you go. Check those things out. And Ian, your final thought with Jaws: The Revenge and Shill Away.
Well, according to Dr. Danzig, the only acceptable answer here is 5 out of 5. No, but unless you're with a group, in which I totally agree. This is a great party, get together, hang out, and laugh movie. But watching it on your own, like I found it impossible. I'd seen this before, but I hadn't watched it in decades, and I forgot just how damn boring it is. Because they've only got the 2 kills, technically 3 if you count Jake at the end, but there's so much filler. And in a movie like the original Jaws, you can kind of get away with the kills very sporadically because it's not a movie that's about that. It's about, men going out on this adventure to bond and kill a shark. In this, it's about Stella trying to get her groove back. None of it works. It's terrible. It's unbelievably terrible. But you get together with some friends, and yes, 5 out of 5. Otherwise, 0 out of 10, which is incidentally what I gave Superman a few weeks ago. So
yes,
there you go.
We are on opposite ends of the spectrum for that. And what would you like to shill, sir? Speaking of your podcast and superheroes.
I am Ian Simmons. I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com, and also here on YouTube, Kicking the Seat. And I'm also here on Sunday nights.
Yes,
Mark in the spoiler room, and Joe.
Done with Mondays entirely.
We will be, yes. We will be done with Mondays for right now entirely, at least for August. So, yes, check out Ian's stuff at kickseat.com. Check out The Last Drive-In to find out what Joe is alluding to. The man does heavy work for The Last Drive-In. Meticulous, beyond meticulous, and mad respect for that. And as I shilled before, The Blonde in Front, check out her stuff at theblondeinfront.com, and absolutely the streaming antics of Mr. Derek Danzig, MD. Both joined us tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you for the rest of our live viewers. And yes, this will be our regular time showing. We will be on now Sundays at 8:30 Central Time PM, at least for August. We're trying that time slot out due to scheduling and such. So, check us out on Sunday night. Great way to end your weekend to hear us talking about movies, especially next month, because as Jaws July comes to a close, we're going to go skate and die with 5 films, because since I moved it to Sunday, there's 5 Sundays in August.
We got another movie.
We got 5 films that involve dystopian or post-apocalyptic stories with people on roller skates or rollerblades or both. Yes, only the best in cinema here on the spoiler room. And so that means next week we're kicking it off with the epic Solar Babies. Yes.
Also from 1987, isn't that right?
Also, yes.
Oof.
That's right. 1987 Solar Babies. So you want to come back for that, folks. We are on Twitch now, so keep an eye out on the schedule and for my streaming of games occasionally. I'm up in the air. I've given some thought to Mr. Dr. Danzig, MD, and yes, the next film, because I just beat Borderlands 3 on my Twitch channel, we will be playing RoboCop. So we're going to start the RoboCop Rogue City game next week, Friday, August 1st. So check that out as well. Like, subscribe, bells and whistles, everybody here. Thank you so much for rambling. I will close it out now. And we'll just say good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Dun, 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 dun.